What's good? What's good, everybody? We got a special guest on our Listen to DP podcast. My guy, Nick Olivier, he decided that he wants to jump on, chop it up, share his journey, share his story, share the ups, the downs, and everything in between with myself and all of our guests. And I really appreciate it. If you have not, make sure you like, subscribe, share with a friend, family, mom, dad, whoever it may be. This is going to be a really good one. I like to bring on guys that you've seen on TV every day, but I also like to bring on people that you may have never heard about that might have a story that actually sounds a little better to you, feels a little more familiar to you, right? Because everybody, like I was talking with Nick before, can't be LeBron James, can't be Usain Bolt. But there's guys like Nick, myself, other people that you may know that have stories that resonate with you. And I feel like this is going to be a story that really resonates with you, the journey. And I appreciate you for jumping on, Nick.
No doubt. I appreciate you taking the time out and just to listen to my story.
Yes.
And hear me out what I had to say. And I'm glad to be a part of your show and just get some wisdom as well.
Yes, no, 100%. So we'll start from the beginning, man. Like, just give us a little bit of the background story of like your upbringing, what got you into, ball, and what was that first moment for you that was like, you know what? I really like this football thing and I think I want to pursue it moving forward.
Definitely. It definitely all started just in the town that I was raised in, Freeport, Long Island, where it's a rich tradition of football, where the youngest brother of three older brothers played. Everybody played football. So it was really just only a matter of time. But I grew up watching my brother play, and he was a beast. He was way bigger too. He got my dad's genes. But watching him play and seeing him move and working to emulate some of the things that he did on the field, I just couldn't wait to just play. It was something about it that caught my eye from the very beginning. So I started playing flag football originally second grade. That's when I officially started playing ball. I did that from second grade to sixth grade.
Okay.
And that was a good way for me to learn football. It wasn't too taxing on my body. I felt I was just able to just learn and be carefree on that field. And when I got to middle school, which I currently work at right now, Down Middle School, and I coached this past season as the assistant head coach there, that's when I first put on the pads. And that's when I got that first taste of, what real football is. They're like, hey, football is always football, but, it's something different when you put those pads on.
Max.
You got to talk a little different. You got to walk a little different. You got to hit a little different. So that's why I just learned the game and being under that tradition of what Freeport football is all about, it gave me a good outlook on where I am today.
Got you. How was it up there for y'all? You said you didn't get in the pads till middle school. Flag football from second grade to sixth grade. I know down here in Texas, boys trying to put the pads on at 4 years old, 5 years old. Like Florida, same way, like as fast as you can get them on, boys is trying to have it happen. Like, was that normal where you're from in New York to, guys to wait a little longer, or were guys, just similar to yourself, some guys just waited a little later, or were y'all kind of like us still with some people like, nah, I think maybe in second grade is when we started putting on pads. I think kindergarten first was flag, and then first year of pad football was second grade. Did y'all have that similar structure as well up there?
Definitely, okay. Without a doubt. My story was just a little different. Growing up in a Christian household, Sundays for the Lord, so I'm not missing any Sundays, and the games were usually on Sundays. So the only way I'd be able to play was on Saturday, and that's why I flag football. So that's how I really started. I feel like if I was able to, I definitely would, because my parents saw that I really loved the game.
Got you. Now, before we move on, like through the journey, how is football in New York? Because it is cold up there. Like,
yeah,
is it a short season? Do y'all start earlier or what? Because I know just being, a Texas guy, and I was born in Kansas, I went back and played football at KU. And I know that it's different, you know what I mean? When the end of October hits in Kansas compared to us in Texas, like I know sports as far as basketball, right? We already know a lot about basketball, especially nowadays basketball's everywhere. But back when I was in high school, all the East Coast guys from New York, Philly, and all that, that's who was, we felt like we was hearing about all the hoopers because they was hooping hard. Like, so what is football like up there in all that cold, man, especially in Pee Wee? Because you outside. There ain't no stadiums and like indoor like that, I'm assuming, especially back when we was growing up. How was that?
No, we was outside.
Yeah.
Outside in that cold. When it was playoff season, everybody was huddled up in the little tight balls with that wind blowing through your face, through the face mask. It wasn't pleasant at all. But, it's football at the end of the day. We're definitely known, I'll say, as a basketball state, but just the town that I grew up in was football. So that weather stuff didn't matter. We was gonna get it in rain, sleet, sometimes sleet. I don't know. But as long as the weather wasn't dangerous, we were out there and we were competing.
Got you.
Yeah.
So we'll keep it pushing from middle school. Obviously, we're going to high school, and then you did your college thing, and we'll get to all that. So as you start finding that love of middle school and transitioning to the pads, what was like that middle school to high school transition for you? Like, did you automatically excel like right when you got the pads on in middle school? And then like, what were you doing in high school? Tell us, and about your position. Tell us about your success. Tell us about what it took for you to get on varsity. So what was that middle school, high school transition like for you?
Honestly, it was very smooth. We had a solid JV team, and just the way the coaching staff network was set up for us, we ran the same plays that we ran on JV, and the style of play that we were playing, we were a heavy spread offense. At the time, we were one of the few that really was heavy into that play style. Usually everybody was I-form or anything else, but the games gradually evolved. But it was an easy progression where, it was meant to learn the fundamentals and the mentality. Because for us, it was all about the mentality. With the coach that we had, Coach Russ Selling, that was the number one thing. And he's actually one of the most winningest coaches in Long Island history and in New York State. So we were under that structure. Tube socks.
Yeah.
Right. No ankle socks, no bands or anything. Tube socks, no arm sleeves, maybe a wristband or two, but no visor. So coming through that system, it really was less about how would I put it? Like less about scheme at first and more so just about adopting that mentality.
Just building that culture.
Yeah, the culture, because that's the thing that's going to take us to that championship. It's not the plays all the time. Yes, it is an important factor, though, but you could have all the plays in the world, but when it's 4th down and 1, who wants it more? And how are you going to be able to execute that? Which team is able to execute at a higher efficiency and in crunch time moments? So, that's what they really taught us, and it was smooth sailing from there, just feeling why I played in.
Got you. So for the viewers, what position did you play? High school, right? And what would you say, or who would you say was most like your play style? Who did you admire? Who did you look up to? Who did you study film on? Who did people say, man, you remind me of this guy?
Got you. Then right off the bat, I'm gonna just say my position. So in middle school, I played cornerback, but when I got to JV, I still played cornerback as well, and receiver on JV. But when I got to varsity, I played safety on defense, and I also played receiver. But my 11th grade year, To this day, I still don't know why. I got to find out. But I only played safety. I only played one side of the ball 11th grade year, strong safety.
Okay.
And then when I played in 12th grade, then I did both sides where I did receiver and I still played at safety.
Okay.
But always being the smallest guy, I was 135 soaking wet, graduating senior year. So I could only imagine how much I weighed in 11th grade. But it was always Tyrann Mathieu for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the honey badger. He takes what he wants.
Yeah.
He sees the ball, he go gets it, and he played with relentless effort. So, you know, growing up, it's like being the little guy on that field. They're gonna try you.
100%.
You know, they're gonna want to see if you got that dog in you, if you're gonna stand up for yourself for real.
Mm-hmm.
And especially just how my brother played, and just him giving game to me when I was growing up playing ball. It's like, yo, be a man out there. You got to stand up for you. And I always wanted to make it a point that when I step on that field, you respect my name. I may be this, I may be that, but when we shake hands or if it's after practice, you know, I came to hit.
Yeah. So what instilled like that mentality in you to come hit somebody when you weighing 135? So we're similar. How tall are you?
6 foot even.
Okay, so you 6 foot. So you was taller, not taller, but 6 foot is pretty tall and skinny. I was like 145 my senior year in high school. And I played both ways. I played corner, receiver, kick, return, punt, return, did all that good stuff. But I'm right under 5'8". So to be 6 foot, 135, so you long, lanky guy, skinny. What brought that mentality to be like, even though I'm only 135, I'm trying to bring, you know, that hat, because at 135, that's a collision. And if you don't catch them right and you get caught a couple of times, you might not go through there.
It
give me that mentality, because it wasn't like, say, you're not running at 190 in high school and just running through people like that.
Mm-hmm. It definitely came from wrestling.
Okay.
I was wrestling from 7th grade all the way to 12th grade. So I really had a really good understanding of angles. It's really all about the angles, leverage, pad level. The lowest man is always going to win, and running through the tackle. Yeah. Same thing like in wrestling with shooting a double leg. Yeah. If you shoot a double but you're on your knees, the guy's just going to sprawl and throw you to the ground and get that 2 points. But those three things, just those fundamental things. But at the end of the day, tackling is about mentality. You could have the technique, and it's necessary that you do, but I'm going to bring this guy down. That was always in me.
Yeah. No, I tell people two things: tackling and fighting. Technique only matters if you want to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So I tell guys all the time, I'll take in a fight, I'm going to take the guy with no technique. Once again, not a professional fighter, but I'm talking about just two random guys that has worse technique but wants to fight the guy than the guy that kind of knows something, not enough to just, you know, expose them, but is scared of the fight. Because if you ain't taking a fight to somebody, don't matter. Just like you'll see a Cam Chancellor or other guys in the NFL who's leading with straight shoulder now, right? But he wants to hit. Yeah. So he's going to try and get you down compared to the guy that has the perfect technique but is shying away from the tackle and not running through. And that's a big thing, which we talked about this right here, right? You saw this when we pulled it up. His mentality, wrestling, help with the mentality. But how much was it that you had that, you know, that dog mentality even before the wrestling with the older brothers? Like, how did that help shape you? Because you had how many brothers?
I just had one.
One brother and older, correct?
Yes.
And how much older was he?
5 years.
So yeah, so that's a little gap right there. Like, tell me about that back and forth. Like, did y'all, like, me and my brother are 2.5 years apart. So he was in high school when I was in high school. His friends were my friends. Like, did big bro throw you around? Did you get to hang out with him a lot? Did you kick it with his friends? Like, did he train you? Like, what was that? How did that shape you having that older brother? And you said he was bigger and had dad's genes, and you're 6 foot. So obviously you didn't weigh a lot, but you 6 foot. Like, tell us about big bro.
Yeah, my dog. First off, his name is Daniel.
Okay.
Danny. And honestly, I learned really just by playing with him. I didn't really go against him.
Okay.
We didn't really fight too much. I was a little brother that tried getting into trouble, so he wanted to stay away from me when I was younger. But anytime we played basketball or we played football outside, we would be together. Started with throwing the football. I think those little things right there. It wasn't he did rough me up a couple times. I think that's what all older brothers do in some sort of way. They want to feel like a macho man. But it was all love. Just being around him. As I got older, he let me be around the squad.
Yeah.
And it was just play ball. It was a good dynamic. It wasn't like we competed against each other. We usually competed with each other.
Okay.
And that's where I really learned a lot.
And I know that little brother too competing with older brother, that's a lot of pressure, right? Because you don't want to let him down. You don't want to be on his team. You missing shots. I ain't doing what you're doing now. You're like, dang, Big Bro ain't gonna want me on the squad no more if I ain't out here putting on. So I already know how that is for little brother, and that's just like playing with your dad, right? Finally get old enough to go to the rec. He put you on your team, put you on the team. Now, come on, son. Don't be out of BS. Come on, you're gonna have to get your own little squad. So no, that's fire right there. So we talked about kind of the high school journey and all that. Let us know like what your recruitment was like, right? Talk to us about what the recruitment was like, and then that first transition into college, and then we'll talk about those other points that obviously I know about, but that we're gonna get everybody else to know about. Tell us that recruitment, and then how did we go flow into college?
For sure, I really didn't know too much about recruitment growing up. To be real with you, like schools would stop by at the end of the season. Schools would stop by, but for me, that's what I thought recruitment was.
Yeah.
The coaches come by the office, they spoke with your coach already. Now they come speak with you if you're interested. You reach out further through an email and you prepare to go on a visit. So I did that with a few schools. I remember at the time it was the Alfred Saxons up in New York State.
Okay.
I didn't really have too many options for real. That was looking like the legitimate option. D3, but it was good football at the time. Like they were really good in the league. I think the league that they were in was Empire 8. I don't know if it's still that right now, but they were talking to me, let me know like, listen, man, we really like you're a scrappy guy. We know you're a little light right now, but with the college 15, the freshman 15, we should get you right up to speed, and we'd like for you to want to play early. So they were talking to me like I was getting ready to play early, and that's what really caught my attention. So I was pretty much sold on going there at first. And then this was in the beginning of like Instagram when it really was started getting popping back in 2016, 2017. A player from Southern Connecticut State reached out to me, and that was Division II. And deep down, I always knew like, man, I love D3, but I think I'm better in D3. If I ever got an opportunity, I think I would take it. And that was one of those opportunities that I felt I was ready for. And I went on a visit. And from that first visit, I went with my dad and my brother. I knew that was a school for me. So I decided to go with Southern Connecticut State. I was on a partial scholarship there. And I was just getting ready for that. I was expected to ship out August, like early August, around that time. And then I found out from my coach that I was ineligible because my SAT scores were too low.
Okay.
So then I ended up being a non-qualifier. I was still able to be at the school. He was like, listen, he's got a semester here. Just come when all the other freshmen come. Make sure you get your grades right. Next season, we'll be up and running with you, and it'll be ready to go. So I was doing that. I was enjoying there, but I was a student. I wasn't even playing. I wasn't able to go to practice. So it was a little weird. I was with the team, but I wasn't with the team.
Yeah.
So that dynamic was interesting. But that's how it all started for real.
Got you. And I know getting ready to go to school, getting in school, and then something like that happens? Like what? Like take us through like what mental, like right? Because you think, hey, I'm about to play college ball, I'm about to do this and that. Then they're like, hey, bro, you're a non-qualifier. You like say you're with the team, but not with the team. So you up in limbo. So what was your mindset during that time? Were you training on your own? Were you just kind of waiting for everything to shake? Like, was it a grind? Like, were you sad? Were you still, optimistic? Like, what was you like kind of going through mentally at that moment?
Mm-hmm. I was definitely disappointed during that time because leading up to there in that summer, I was putting in a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And I was training with my boys. We were working out. We were at a park called Northeast Park. And at that time, at that current time, that was the most work I would put in. I was getting ready to go. So that whole dynamic felt weird, especially when I got the call because I got it when I was training.
Okay.
So that was like weird. I was like, man, really? And it was just a few weeks away. So I was already getting my mind prepared that I'm about to go. And then when I got there as a student, I kind of just felt like a student for real. So I was really living the student life much rather than the student athlete life.
Okay. Got you. So after that happens, obviously, I know that we move on to another school, but how does that transition go from being there, being not a non-qualifier? Coach is like, hey, we're going to get you up and rolling. We'll be good. So take us to that next step of now. Do you go play a season? Do you then go to JUCO next? Like, take us through that next step of figuring out that process for yourself.
Yeah. So when I was there and I was really like a student, I definitely had too much fun.
Yeah.
I felt like a dog off a leash, and I was finally able to just have my freedom and live a college life. And I made fun the priority more than I made the work the priority. But I felt like if I was on a team, I don't think it would have been a little tailored because I would have had football to just keep me focused. But going back to that time, it was just like, dang, and if I'm not playing, I might as well just enjoy. So that was kind of like, the immature mindset or the immature approach to go about it. But that led me to Nassau. So after I completed my year, I did 1 year at Southern Connecticut State, and then I ended up transferring to Nassau. I came in there 2018. Yeah, 2018. And I was already back home, and my mom was like, we should sign up and see if Nassau is starting up their football season. So we go there, and come to find out, it's the last day of signing up for classes when we go see the head coach, Coach Jamel Ramsey at the time. And he looked at my transcript. He looked up. He was like, you sure you're not playing right now? Because of grades? You don't look like the type to be failing grades or not playing football because of your grades. And, right then and there, looked at it. I ended up needing 3 classes, 3 Bs that summer to pass and have my credits transfer over and be ready for summer ball.
Okay.
And that's when I got started. I passed with, I think I had 2 B pluses and 1 B.
Okay.
Back was against the wall, but I knew it was like if I wanted to play again, I had to try. There was no half hot, half cold, half hot, half cold. So, I ended up passing and starting out my collegiate career at JUCO, Nassau Community College.
Got you. So I know you were there for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So take us through that right now. So now you went from being a non-qualifier back against the wall. You get your 3 Bs. You're at the community college, and now it's time to rock and roll. You played there for 2 years. How was the squad? Like, were y'all good? Like, were y'all like winning, losing? What was your role? Did you get to start for those 2 years? Let us know kind of about what that part of that journey looked like for you.
Yeah. So it was definitely good competition for sure. There were a lot of guys from Jersey and DC area. Like that was the majority of and Long Island to where we're from, New York City. So that whole East Coast region, and those that was the first time I saw college ball, and dudes was hungry because the motto is D1. When you go to JUCO, the goal is Division One. It's not
100%.
Division Two, not Division. It's Division One. So just being around that level of competition, I wasn't intimidated by it, because that's what I grew up in. Like, I grew up around competing, so that was never a problem for me. But the speed of the game is what caught me off guard at first. So really just getting adjusted to the speed. Like those guys, like if your technique wasn't right, especially at DB, if your technique is not right back there, it's 6 points. So that's when I really learned, like, you really had to focus on the craft now. Like what you're working on, what you're working at is a craft. Just like how it is at receiver. It's not so much about brute strength. It's more so about footwork, situational IQ, and executing at your craft and technique.
100%. So while you're there, you're grinding, you're getting on the field, you're figuring it out, you're having it, like I said, you're seeing, hey man, I gotta be stronger, I gotta be faster, the game's faster, I gotta get my IQ up, my technique gotta be right. What finally flipped that switch for you when you were there to get you back over the top to start, feeling good and playing? Like, was it the film? Was it the training? Was it the coaching? Because while we're all trying to figure it out, some guys, the game's too fast because they don't know what's going on, right? They're not watching no film. They don't know the play. Some guys, it's like, no, I'm watching all the film I need to, but right now I'm just not fast enough or not physical enough. What was it for you that kind of got you over that hump to get that speed of the game to slow back down?
Definitely. It definitely started during my sophomore year, but I'm going to take you back to the freshman year. So I started my freshman year, but I kind of felt like I was thrown into the fire.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I was the best option. I felt that, but it was also at the same time like, damn, I wasn't expecting a little bit to be right here in this position, to be one of those guys, be that role player and do my job, execute my job, being depended on. So I feel like I did have a good year. I think I let up 1 touchdown that year or 2 touchdowns. It wasn't anything crazy, but I got a lot of PBUs. But when I looked over the film that summer, I looked over each game and I was like, man, I missed out on so many opportunities to get interceptions. Because I knew with my size, I had to do something. I had to pop out that film, being where I was and what I was. And I looked and I was like, man, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. And I had like 16 opportunities to get an interception. I didn't get one.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I know like all I need. And I was looking at the stats of, some of the top guys prior to that season. And they were getting like 5, 6 interceptions. And I was like, man, I missed out on 12. I know if I could get like 8 of those things, I know I'm bound to get picked up by someone.
Yeah.
And that really like sparked that fire. Like, listen, man, I'm this close away. I just need to do, I need to work with intention and really just lock in on this summer to really focus up and do what I need to do. And that was actually when I met Coach AJ. He was my defensive backs coach there for both years, freshman and sophomore year.
Okay.
Yeah, came in, walked on the open field, on the oval. That's what we called it. It was just an open field in the middle of the campus.
Okay.
Walking to where the DBs was at, and I saw the baldy. It's clean. I was clean. I saw Coach with shades. He was huge. I was like, yo, who is that? Is he linebacker coach? And I get a little closer. We get a little closer because we kind of working together, walking together as a group. And first thing he said, "What's up, troops?" I was like, "Oh man, we got us one of those." But it ended up being a great relationship, and he taught us a lot of game. starting with the fundamentals. Those footwork drills before practice, man, you just gotta ask him. Just ask him about it. He's gonna let you know all about what it
Yeah.
was like. But that's when I really started to learn the technique. And also our head coach too, Coach Ramsey, he was also a DB for LIU. They both played DB at LIU, and he was there with us too. So we really had a strong coaching unit as well with us to really show us the ropes when we were there.
Mm-hmm. And with Coach AJ, tell us kind of about, like I said, because that's my guy, man. I obviously known him for a while. He coached you. He's like one of my brothers. We're business partners. We do everything. Like, what was kind of like his big philosophies, or how was his coaching style? Because, right, for me, everything I've gotten from him is more of him training and knowing some of the things that we talk about during training. But I didn't know him during his coaching. Like, what was it like playing for AJ when he was, coaching?
A lot of footwork.
Yeah.
A lot of footwork. And to start, he really taught not just me, but the whole defensive back unit how to break at different angles. Like during those drills, those little drills, we learned to break 45 degrees, quick, break within 2 steps. Because we know, and we were taught that, when a receiver is getting out of his break, it takes 3 steps. Mm-hmm. So if we work on breaking in 2 steps, that puts us a step ahead of the receiver at the top of the route. And, working that way. But it was really a mentality. He pushed us. He challenged us every day, as did Coach Ramsey. And the biggest thing that I appreciated about Coach was he gave it tough love. He was tough, but he knew when to take it slow and talk to us. And that was the first time I felt like I had a coach that wasn't just talking to me, but talking to the whole squad and making sure that we were all right, seeing where we were at mentally. Because I didn't understand it then, but now as a coach and still a player, I realize getting to know the mind state of your team is very important. Mm-hmm. Because you never know what somebody's going through. And just that simple gesture of checking in with somebody outside of football, it makes them feel appreciated. So I feel like he really did a good job of making sure we felt appreciated while challenging us. And then, we really learned in that weight room too. He was there giving us gems. So he was there with me the whole step of the way.
Yeah, so getting back to the football, as far as sophomore year comes, tell us about kind of that year, because you went back and watched your film.
Yeah.
You've seen what you needed to work on. You've seen the opportunities that you missed. Tell us how knowing that, how did that play into your sophomore year? What did that sophomore year look like? And then what did that transition look like to your next school, since you played 2 years there? Then let's talk about, hey, I watched that film. I did da-da-da. Was it a good season? Was it a bad season, mediocre? And then what ended up happening after that second year?
Yeah, so my first year, I thought it was a mediocre. It was a mediocre season. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. I wanted it to be great. And I made sure after I watched that film, I took notes down on what it is that I felt like I needed to work on. But then the next step that I took was asking the coaches, what do you feel I needed to work on? And for starters, Coach AJ, he let me know just from a physical standpoint, I needed to work on my flexibility that year.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's what I need to do to get where I feel like I know I can go. Bet. Boom. So I definitely spent a lot of time stretching. I was doing yoga as well. Okay. And that's definitely very underrated for athletes, by the way. I highly suggest you at least once a week. Just take the time on a Sunday, rest day when you're off your feet, stretch. That's the thing, especially as a sports performance coach, right? the more flexible we are as athletes, the higher our capacity is to be able to produce force and apply that force into the ground to what ultimately become more explosive, right? So that's what I did. I worked on that. Definitely press man. That was something that I didn't do enough. I didn't really trust myself that my freshman year. So I really went to work on that. I studied. There was a former NFL player that went by Mark Parson, and he's still on YouTube. I think he goes by Cornerback Guru. But it was something else earlier in the earlier years. So I would watch his videos every day, and I would just write down notes on what it is that I need to do. I just wanted to soak up. I was a sponge that year, and that's when I was just like, yo, anything you threw at me that was a DB related, I was eating it up, you know. And I just came obsessed with the craft: press man, off man, situations, catch man. Where our eyes are supposed to be, because that's the most important thing for DBs, for real. That split second difference, that split second location of where your eyes are looking at makes a difference between whether you get a PBU, interception, or the man catches the ball, the receiver catches the ball, right? So our eyes got to be in the right spot. So just learning everything. I just felt like I was so prepared going into that sophomore year. So my confidence was through the roof. And we had a really good squad my sophomore year going into it. We played with each other the whole freshman season as well. So we all knew each other. So we were just comfortable as a unit. Everybody that summer was working on what they needed to do going in. And then when we teamed up for spring ball, we saw like, oh my goodness, we got a squad.
Yeah.
You know, it was me, Joe Connor. He played safety and he played corner as well. He was kind of a hybrid. We had Dave Ortison, aka Blast RIP, and he was another one of those bangers. And then it was me. We had a few other guys there, but that was the main squad that we rocked out with my sophomore year. Just prepared. That's the best way I could put it.
Got you. So how did you personally do that sophomore year, and then what did that recruitment look like for you after you had that season?
Definitely. It was definitely really good. Improvement. Okay. I kind of really popped out towards the end, like the last few games, I just went crazy. But it came from when I just started to trust the coaches. So like honestly, in the beginning or in the first half of the season, I kind of wanted to just like I wanted to follow the best man. Where that receiver was, I wanted to be on him, and I wanted to cover him like white on rice, strap up. Yeah. But I learned that I was doing my own thing, and I was actually taking myself out the play. By me trying so hard to create a play, by being on the best man, I was forcing it, and I was taking opportunities away from myself schematically. And, you know, they were just kept on harping on me, Coach AJ, Coach Ramsey, like, listen, man, you know you're missing out on those opportunities that you want. You just got to trust the system. And that latter half of the season, when I really said, like, you know what, let me just trust what the coach is saying. Let me just do what they tell me to do. Boom. I ended up having 5 interceptions that year, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. I had an interception in the bowl game, and I had 3 forced fumbles in one game. It was literally the last game of the season. I had 3 forced fumbles, 1 interception.
Okay.
And like before the bowl game, we were unsure whether we made it just because of the record. And I was telling myself, like, man, if we just had one more game, I feel like I just need one more game to really show that the improvement I made, that I am that person that I say I am. Mm-hmm. And when we got the opportunity, and I also took advantage of that as well. We ended up losing in overtime in my second year. We went to back-to-back bowl games. We won our first year, and then we lost our second year.
Got you. And after that bowl game, what school did you end up, going to after that?
Yeah, I went to Wagner College out in Staten Island, close to home. I wanted my family to be able to see me. But during that process, to be honest, I think I could have done a better job looking back on it of marketing myself better. I kind of just left it into the hands of the coaches to help me. But we all know with recruiting, you got to put in some work too.
Yeah.
Closed mouths don't get fed. So you got to be able to put yourself out there, contact the coaches, and put your film and give your film to as many coaches as you can.
Yeah.
So,
that's big. You can't sit back. Like I said, it's your career, it's your livelihood, it's your future. And yes, your coach is working for you, but he's also working for 30, 60, 40 other guys that are trying to, however many you have on your team that are trying to, get to that next level in ball and actually had the ability and showed that, they deserve that opportunity. So he doesn't have just all day for you, but you got all day for you when it comes to recruiting. Yeah. So after you go to Wagner, what does that part of your career look like? I know you went there during the COVID years and all that, so you got to play 3 years there. Like, what did that look like for you as far as, career? And did you feel like, you got the most of it? Do you feel like you could have did more? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I definitely felt like I could have done more. It was a good learning experience. That was my trying time. But I felt like I learned a lot about the craft because I did have a good defensive backs coach while I was there. He played in the NFL too and also the CFL. But that COVID year gave me the time I needed to catch up as far as to the speed of the game. Because once again, that was another thing that I had to get adjusted to, just trusting myself and trusting my technique against that speed. Mm-hmm. So getting a lot of those reps and really focusing on the craft every day. You know how college practice is. Practice should be done in an hour 15. Yeah, hour 15 to hour 30. Flowing through everything. Yeah, it's flowing. So that process was good. We actually didn't win any games during that COVID year. And that's when I got my first taste of being on a losing team, to be frank. Because up until Nassau, I was always winning from second grade to that point of my career. I was always either in the mix or I was in a championship game or I won one.
Yeah.
And not having that, I realized how much it takes to win a game. It's not about talent anymore. It's about execution and how many of the guys on either side of the ball knows their job, trust the other man to do their job, and is willing to stay locked in long enough to be able to make the plays that come to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just we weren't clicking, and I ended up only winning one game in 3 years.
So what goes through your mind, right? You're doing all this work, you finally go through this whole journey, and then you get here and you're like, man, I got all the way here just to get to this losing team. Like, what are you like thinking? Because like I said, you're always winning, and this is a part of the journey of like, bet I balled out in JUCO to get back out, get back into a better level of ball, and now we just getting our butt beat. Like, how does that feel?
Definitely demoralizing.
Yeah.
And you put a lot of work in, you work hard, you get up early AMs for AM lift, you go to all those meetings, you get all those pep talks thinking that you're going to win the game. And
this is all week.
And the same thing happened and shellacked. And it's not fun at all. So that was tough. Being Mr. Positive, I'm always optimistic about just life. I don't like to have a negative mindset, but it was hard to be positive, especially when it felt like everybody around you was negative as well by the situation. So that was tough to deal with. And then to add to that, I was fighting with injuries. Not too much, like up until like that point, I wasn't getting hurt. You know, little nicks and bruises throughout the
It's
season.
football stuff.
Yeah, it's football stuff. But my first injury, major one, was I had a grade 3 turf toe, and that took me out for about 3 months. And it was the first week of summer camp, of fall camp. And I was like, man, I was getting ready. I was expected to start that year too. And what's crazy about that was the night before, my toe was aching bad in the meetings. I was like rubbing on my foot, like, this thing is really hurting.
Yeah.
And I go to practice by the cleat section, you know, where we would open up that little that box section where you pull out your cleats.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at my cleats, and I never wore this cleat before. I bought it, but never even attempted to put it on. I'm looking at it, I'm like, should I put this on? I don't know. Nah, today's the day. I'm gonna put it on. So I do that, put it on, have practice, go through the warm-ups, everything. And I think it was either Skelly or a team drill. I'm pretty sure it was Skelly. It was a routine break. I was actually getting ready to jump the ball because the receiver ran a hitch, and I was getting ready to jump the ball. I did my re-step. I was getting ready to shoot my gun, and I heard a crack. I heard like a crunch first and then a crack. I'm like, oh, nah, something's not right. So I hop off, and like it doesn't hurt at first, but later on that night, it was terrible.
Yeah.
So dealing with that, I was in a downwards dumps as far as mentality goes, because that was the first time I've been hurt. And then I recovered from that. I came in late, and we were still losing. I was coming back thinking like, man, I'm putting this work to when I get back on the field and I have my opportunity, I'm gonna make something happen. Still lost. Don't matter.
Yeah.
And then going into my senior year, I hurt my hamstring as well. Around a similar time too, we were getting ready to train. It was I think it was right before the start of camp. I hurt my hamstring when we were doing, I think it was a sprint day that day. And yeah, popped my hamstring. Now I'm sitting out at the start of another camp. And we all know, you got to make your best impressions right now. That first week is when you let it be known the type of player you are for the season. Not for the fall camp, for the season.
Yeah.
So both times missing that chance, it was like, man, it's a repeat. I can't catch a break. So that's how it was for me.
So, and I know you talk about the downward spiral. Do you mind talking about kind of like what also happened from now, the injuries, then getting in trouble, and some of the other stuff that I know that you have discussed? Like, talk about like how that affected you, like, not just being, oh, I'm down, I'm injured. Like, how did that affect you off the field?
Yeah, the biggest thing was I left myself susceptible to receive everybody's opinion. And I didn't stop enough times, take myself back and think about what I would do or what's best for me. I was always listening from everybody else or what I should do or what I can do. And it was just a lot for me at that time because that's something I never experienced. So, I think just found a way. I felt like the best way for me at the time to cope with it was by smoking weed, and that's what I was doing. I didn't get in trouble when I was doing it, but somehow my name ended up getting reported to the coach, and I wasn't in good standing from after that incident, because once you got that mark on you, that's how you're looked at. That's how you're perceived.
Yeah.
And it was a tough time regaining the trust of my coaches, let alone not handling myself in the academics as well. It wasn't a lot of classes. It was honestly like 2 classes that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, but not passing is not passing. and not passing is not excusable, right? We got to be accountable. So I think after that time and letting everybody's opinion, affect me, I think I got comfortable being where I was at and what I was dealing with, and that kind of messed me up.
Yeah, and I know how that goes with injuries. I had injuries. This football is sports. You're going to get injured. You're going to have downtime. I think the biggest thing more than the injury is because we know at some point everybody's going to have that injury, right? It's kind of like, when does it come, right? And for you, for it to keep happening back-to-back years at the beginning of fall camp, where that's where I get my spot, or that's where I keep my spot and solidify it right here. I was a starter last year. Y'all know what it is. I'm still that guy this year. Or like, oh, y'all thought y'all was going to not let me in the door this year? Yeah, now I'm that guy. Now I'm playing, right? Everybody's jockeying for one of those two positions. I wasn't playing last year. Now I'm in here. Or, bro, y'all already know I'm the number one receiver, or I'm the slot guy, or I'm the safety. Like, y'all got to go find another position, but I'm starting. So for that to happen in that spot, because spring is cool, summer is cool, winter workouts is cool, fall camp was where it all goes down, and where it's pretty much inked in blood for at least 2 to 3, 4 weeks, unless you just start, being terrible. But in spring, it's like, no, we're penciled in. This is the starter. Yeah. Winter, okay, he's still starting because they're just working out. Summer, fall camp.
Yeah, we don't got time for that.
It's there. This is who we going into the season with. Right. These are our guys. And then, like I said, throughout the season, whatever happens, from injuries to bad play, but for at least 3 to 4 weeks, if you're not the starter going through fall camp, you're going to be on that sideline for at least 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah. And maybe the season, unless old buddy in front of you just is playing terrible, right? So that's that show that you're trying to put on for the coaches. So to keep getting hurt on that, I know it definitely sucks. So I know that happened senior year. Tell us kind of how like everything ended up for you at Wagner before finding the international ball with the German football league and all that stuff.
Yeah. So when I was playing at Wagner, we were in a rotation, like the way our scheme was. Our corners, we would always be rotated from a drive-by-drive basis. So I was able to get film, and I feel like I did good, but, back in my head, I knew I could have done better. I didn't fully apply myself. So I believe I made plays, and for me, it was always talent. I was always a talented individual when I got there, but the scouting report on me was I was just too inconsistent. Yeah. And to be consistent, you got to have consistent habits. There's no way around. And my habits weren't consistent, and that led me to just be in rotation. But from there, I was able to get enough film to go to Germany. So I was contacting teams on Europlayers. That's a popular website that a lot of imports use to be able to talk to the teams and ultimately sign. But I was recommended by a player that I trained with, Divine Buckram. He's actually playing this year overseas as well. But my year that I was off, so I took a year off. I was really burnt out mentally, so I was trying to figure things out about, what my career should do. Should I go into the workforce, the corporate world, or, should I still stick it through? And I want to bring up a quick story where it was my last game of the season. And after the game, we were playing Duquesne. We lost. And I was sitting in the bleachers inside of the pool, like the team like indoor pool area, just taking off the pads, just thinking about the times that I was here, thinking about what's next. And at the time, I didn't think anything was next. I thought the next thing actually was I was going to hang up the cleats. And great player that played there, Naeem Simmons, he was a dog. He came up to me and asked me, he was like, so what's your plan? And I was like, to be honest, man, I don't even know what my plan is. But in my head, I was thinking like, man, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm good with this. Like everything that was going on, I'm just tired of feeling this way. But he ended up letting me know that I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he said something along the lines like, "Man, whatever you did from last season to this season, you really did your thing, and you turned heads. I don't think you should give it up." And when he told me that, I kind of took it as a sign of like, maybe I shouldn't. I don't know where this football thing is going to take me, but I know I got some juice in the tank to still drive that car. And I took that year off because I knew I needed it, but I was still working to make sure that, to be ready for my opportunity when that came. And eventually it did come where his coach, talking about Divine, his coach that he played with the year before was on a new team, and he sent him my film. The coach liked my film. He messaged me. We got on the phone call. He liked what I was speaking about and how we were relating. Then he brought me back for a second call, and it was pretty much a done deal from there. So I learned a lot during that process, patience and ready for your moment. But also, which is most important, have fun. Right?
Yeah.
Football stands for fun, and that's never going to stop because that was my first year of coaching. And since it was, I wanted to get off the rip, just start working with the 14-year-olds, the 12-year-olds, but you got to learn to coach, I believe. Like it doesn't just come out the way. You got to learn to break down complex things and learn how to make it simple for the athlete, especially with 5 and 6-year-olds, because that's what I was starting with. You got to make it simple for them to be able to understand and be able to take what the information you're giving them and then apply it. But their attention spans is all over the place. But you know how to keep their attention spans? Make it fun. So that's when I realized, like, oh man, this whole time I was forgetting about having fun. I was so caught up in the business of it. I was so caught up in the drama of that process, and definitely at the Division I level when this is involved,
Yeah.
like you better be on your P's and Q's because that scholarship you sign is not a scholarship, it's a contract.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. Like people forget because of the names, the different names that are used, but a scholarship is a contract. If you don't fulfill the expectations and the obligations that come from a contract, you get replaced.
Facts.
Simply put, but it's easy to get lost in that system. So that kind of brought me back into the love of the game, but in a different way now because I wasn't looking at it no longer from a player standpoint. I was looking at it from the standpoint of a coach. And I realized all the little things that was being taught to me back then was for this moment and for when I ultimately started playing again. The fundamental things like running through the line, why it's important. You may be tired, but making that little extra effort goes a long way when it's 4th and 1, when it's 3rd and short, when it's on that goal line and you need it. So that's when everything clicked for me.
So tell us a little bit about your experience with, the GFL, being in Germany and all that. Like, how does that feel, going over there for the American players? We know a lot of guys that obviously go to the CFL. Now the UFL is over here, but a lot of people hear about it but don't really know about what's going on, like over there in Germany for like the American guys. Tell us a little bit about, your experience with that.
For sure. Definitely a good experience. First thing is the lifestyle. The cost of living is way cheaper over there than it is over here. So I feel like that was a plus where we have a good contract, but the contract is not about money. It's more so about the lifestyle as a whole. So you get a nice place to live. Now it varies between the housing by team. It's on a team by team basis, but
Okay.
they pay for your housing, they pay for your gym membership, travel. Some teams have cars for you to drive in, or the town or the city is small enough to be able for you to commute train. So that's really a popular thing. I was taking the train when I was in Berlin, which is the capital of Germany. It was pretty much like mini New York. So it was something I was used to. It didn't take me long to get adjusted. We would take the train to practice.
Okay.
I was in the heart of it, a lot of food spots, but just the experience of being somewhere new made me feel like a kid again. So I feel like I was able to explore. You get used to the same things and hearing the same things when you're in America. But don't get it twisted. There's still good football out there.
Yeah.
There's definitely like German players. They call them homegrown players. So players from that country where they could definitely compete. And like honestly, I'll put it up there where they can definitely compete with some American guys out here. From an import standpoint, it's definitely competitive. The ranges vary from some pro level guys, former pros, to high level D3, D2, D1 players. So, and the talent of the league has actually gotten better, in my opinion, this year as it was when I first got in the league. As far as the imports, they want a lot of fresh guys, fresh out of college, and active, really. So it's definitely a good experience. It's definitely competitive. There's some great organizations in the league that I'm in. So the GFL is separated in 4 different leagues: 4, 3, 2, 1. It's pretty much like Division 1, Division 4. So 1 being the highest level, that's the league that my team is in. The Forzan Wild Dogs in the GFL South Conference.
Okay. Before we get out of here on all the stuff, like I said, we talked about a lot of football, but I know you do a lot more than football. And like I said, we could talk about that all night, right? We could make this a 5-hour podcast and not even get through half of football talk.
Yeah.
But I know some of your passions are music and doing content creations.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about, how that became a passion, and tell us, what you look to do with, the music, with the content creation. Does the travel actually help, the music and the creation? But just tell us in general, like about those 2 passions that you have.
For sure. Starting with the music, it was something that I started doing in COVID. I really started freestyling. It was something I was doing for fun. I always like listening to instrumentals and, humming over and rapping about it, but I never took it serious. And it started with my boy. That was it. King Will. That's my dog. Gotta shout him out. That's my right hand. But during COVID, yeah, we just started freestyling just to have fun. And then one time he was like, "Yo, let's go to the studio."
Yeah.
So I went to a little studio of out in where I'm at in Freeport, and I was a little nervous. I was like, "Man, this is different than just freestyling, just making up stuff in your mind. You really gotta look into that microphone, and you really don't know how you're gonna sound."
Yeah.
So, but the moment I started, I was like, "Man, it was fun." As much as it was making me nervous, and then as far as I wouldn't know what to expect, it was cool. I think it was something I like doing. So from there, I just would always like type rhymes in my notes in my iPhone. And then one day I was, rapping. Someone was like, "Yo, why don't you just make it a song?"
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I might as well. It took a while, it took a lot of procrastination, but then it came a point where I was like, man, I got so much songs written up on my phone. If I don't speak it out, I might as well just stop doing it. So, I that's how everything started, and I really started to grow into it now. About taking it serious, I realized that this is something I could take serious for one when I heard people like bopping their heads to it and being able to, they were responding well and receiving it well. So I'm like, okay, you got some nice pop to it. I like it. They like it. I think everybody might like it.
Yeah.
So that's how I started. And then when I started making videos on Instagram, just workout videos, just editing in general, just that process of editing the videos and making it out, and it everything that you saw in your head, how you thought it would look, and you were able to project that out on the screen and on the camera. Like that was just a cool feeling for myself. And it really got serious when the cameraman that I actually am working with now, Kenrick Koo, we connected mutually at a studio, and I saw him with his like nice little big camera with the rig, and I'm like, yo, that looks sick.
Yeah.
I've never seen something like that before. And I was just like, while we were in the studio, I was looking at the angles that he was using it, how he was editing it, and I feel like that's what got me attracted. Like, man, I could make content, but well, instead of putting other people's music, why not put my music? I already make it,
Exactly.
and now I'm fully monetizing what it is that I'm doing, and now making long form content because that's where you really attract people. You know, short form content like that gets people's attention, but long form is more so longevity. That's how you're able to build revenue and build your brand off that
Yeah.
as
Facts.
well. So I just figured, putting those two elements together, I'm not just having an audience for football or an audience for content creation. I'm having it from all three. Music, I'm getting music fans, football fans, content fans, and I'm bringing them all together into my world, and we all experiencing this together.
100%. So, where can they find your music at and just your content at?
Yes, sir. My Instagram is ceo.keys. Instead of a S, it's a Z. So ceo.keyz.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing. You can find me on Apple Music, YouTube, all platforms, CEO Keys. I actually dropped my first single, Just Do It.
Okay.
It's on Apple Music, and definitely take a look, take a listen, and I'm sure you're gonna enjoy it. It's all about motivation, positivity, and showing that listen, you can do it. Just know that the road will be lonely at times, and it will not be easy, because if it was easy, everybody would be successful. But as long as you believe in yourself, you don't have to worry about others believing you. And that's just the main things that I try to preach. Being a CEO, for me, CEO stands for create, elevate, obtain. In order to create the life you desire, you have to elevate yourself so that you can ultimately obtain it. And that's just my motto I go by. Uh, my business that I'm also working on expanding to CEO performance, but just making CEO as a whole, just build. That's what I really want to get out, man. Motivate everybody. Go ahead and achieve your dreams and just do it.
Man, I appreciate you, bro. Like, just talking about the journey to get where you are today, the ups, the downs, the success, the failures that you learned from that became a lesson. I appreciate it because once again, we want people to understand these stories, these memories that you have. They're not only going to last you forever and help you build that brand, help you become a better coach, a better father, a better husband, whatever you have, down the line plan for you. It's also going to resonate with others because there's more people than we realize that have that same story as us, of the ups, the downs. Oh, I just got to school. Now I'm a non-qualifier. Man, I got hurt, so I got off track and veered a little bit, but then I got it back. And then I figured out, hey, as I mature, I got to do this if I want to be great. I got to do that if I want to be great. I got to stay focused and all these things. So I appreciate, man, for you coming on here, being transparent about everything, giving great life lessons, giving your background story that's going to help others that come from similar places as you. Doesn't matter if they're in New York, California, Texas, or Florida. There's a kid that's going to go through a similar, hey, I went to this school, then I had to go to JUCO, then I went to JUCO and found a better school. And so I thought, but then that situation didn't turn out what what I thought it was going to be, but I still pushed and I kept moving. And now I'm playing over here in the German Football League, and I got the music and I got the content creation, and I'm building a fan base and a brand, because those stories that you tell, somebody one day is going to be like, because I watched your stuff on Instagram or YouTube, or I listen to your music, bro, like I'm here today. So that's why it's important for us to share our, truths, share our stories, share the things that we went through, because it's going to push somebody else to be great. And you don't know who it is. And unfortunately, you might not even get to hear from them, but just know that it's going to affect somebody in a positive way. So once again, I really appreciate you, bro.
No doubt. And the same goes for you, sir. Like, definitely just being around Coach AJ, and I always hear him talking about you, like when he's talking about, all the ideas and just how you think too. And I appreciate you taking the time out once again to even just hear me out, hear my story, hear what I have to say. And the biggest thing for me is just learning. I love to learn, and I don't think I'm ever going to stop learning. And with that, I'd like to ask you a question. I always want to pick others' brains, but for you, what was a pivotal moment for you that forced you to make that necessary change in order to go to that next level? Like, you felt like you were already doing good, but you still have something that you need to fix or you need to do, or maybe you was just holding back to go to here.
Yeah.
I'd like to know your input on that.
So previously, are you asking what made me get to kind of where I'm at now, or for what's the change that's going to make me go from where I'm at currently to the next level?
Where I want to go to that next level. That one. So the second one. So, like, what are you doing to help you go to that next level that you can achieve?
Okay, so I think the biggest thing for me is, like, I've built a lot of great things. I've had family help. I've had friends help. But a lot of people tell you a lot of things that I was able to do. I put my head down and I just grind it. I bootstrap. I worked harder than everybody. I stayed up longer than everybody. I believe more than everybody. And I did a lot of things. I'm not saying by myself, but there was a lot of things that I was like, hey, I'm just going to figure it out. Right. I had great support from my mom, my dad, my brother, but there's just things like they have their own jobs. Like, this is what I do on a day-to-day basis, full time. I only worked in the workforce for 4.5 years. I was a teacher for 4.5 years from 24 to 29. And I retired. My dad said I quit, but from teaching, and then since 29 to 36, that's all I've done now, is just strictly training full time. No other jobs unless I created it for myself. Trucking jobs, own a barbershop. Me and my lady got the dental office, but I haven't worked for anybody else. The thing that's taken me to the next level and will take me beyond is creating systems for myself, and adding to the team people I trust, from having somebody like our new growth and development director for my brand, Patricia. She's done amazing. She's been a godsend for the brand. For me, having somebody like my guy Judah, he's been with me for a long time, but now we're being a lot more intentional with what we're shooting as far as the content, the videos, the photography. That's big, just to be able to say, hey, this is what I want, this is what I need. Now we're even more on the same page now that we're putting some systems in, so everything looks better. Patricia's doing from helping with the camps, helping with the new clothing line, to, okay, now I know I can give that to her. I can put my energy over here. My dad, does his stuff, and I know I can tell him we need to get this done. And he's able to get it done, and vice versa. I'm able to help him on something I might need to do on that side for him. So just building the team that we've already had, but building it with intention and purpose and being stronger, right? I've always had the support from my family, from my lady, from my friends, from the community. But now it's intentional what we have going. Mm-hmm. And that it's going to get us better, because I can only move so fast by myself. You only can build so much by yourself. But when you put a team together that you trust and is strong, the things that we've been able to do in the last 2 months has been crazy, because we're able to move as a unit, right? You can have Michael Vick as your quarterback, but if don't nobody blocking, can't nobody get open, Michael Vick can only do so much. Now put some guys around him. Michael Vick can be the Heisman. Michael Vick can go to whatever he can be. But no matter how good you are without a good team, you can do great things, but you won't reach the ultimate height because you're going to cap yourself without that. So that's been my biggest thing, is finding people that I really trust and that I'm able to build with on the level that we're trying to get to right now.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem, man. Like I said, as you're doing that, find your cameraman, find your person that helps you with the ideas, find the people that are going to keep it real with you, find the person that's going to find events for you, right? You can't do all that by yourself and think you're going to be, you can be successful, but you're not going to get to where your full potential is because not one person can do all those things at a high level. Yeah. Steve Jobs was the idea person, right? Even though he's Apple, as we know it, but Woz was the dude that was building the phone, right? Steve Jobs didn't build the phone, think of the idea, do all the marketing, do the payroll. Like, no, this is what I'm good at, and then I'll find everybody else around me that's good at what they do. And you can build Apple, you can build Nike, you can build Amazon. But if you try and do it all by yourself, you'll stay in your garage forever.
Got you.
Yes, man. So hopefully that helps out a little bit.
Yes, sir. Sure did.
Yeah. So like I said, I appreciate you, man. Keep it up. If you need anything, if you have any questions, if you ever need some advice, you already know you got AJ, but now you got me as well. We're always here to help. And yeah, bro, keep being great, man. Keep leading the way. Keep leading these kids. We know you're doing the training, the coaching. You're a mentor, but you're also an idol for them because you're playing pro ball. Pro ball anywhere is pro ball, man. And that's the biggest thing. You're keeping the dream alive. So keep doing that until you don't want to do it no more, bro.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
No problem at all, man. I hope you had a good time on here. I'll see all y'all later. And make sure y'all like, subscribe, and share with some friends and family. We out.
Most definitely. Peace.